A shock across the country over the death of American icon Dolly Parton. She passed away this morning in a Nashville hospital after being admitted 4 days ago with kidney and autoimmune issues.
Dolly Parton is gone. For generations of fans around the world, those words are almost impossible to believe. The woman whose voice, smile, humor, rhinestone dresses, unforgettable songs, and larger-than-life personality seemed almost eternal has died at the age of 80. On August 25, 2026, the world lost one of the most recognizable and beloved figures in the history of American entertainment. Dolly Parton died peacefully in Nashville, Tennessee, surrounded by loved ones. According to her representatives, she had been bravely facing a brief battle with cancer before her death at Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center. The news was announced by her family and representatives, bringing an extraordinary 6-decade career to its final chapter. But Dolly Parton's story was never simply about death. It was about life, ambition, resilience, music, family, kindness, and the remarkable journey of a little girl from the mountains of Tennessee who grew into an international icon. Dolly Rebecca Parton was born on January 19, 1946, in Locust Ridge, Tennessee. She grew up in a large and poor family in the Appalachian Mountains. Her childhood was far removed from the glamorous world she would eventually enter. Her family did not have great wealth, but they had something that would become central to Dolly's identity: music. From an incredibly young age, Dolly understood the emotional power of a song. She began writing songs as a child, and music became a way for her to express feelings that were sometimes difficult to put into ordinary words. Her early experiences with poverty, family, faith, love, and hardship would later become the foundation of some of the most powerful songs she ever wrote. Long before the world knew her name, Dolly Parton was simply a young girl with a dream, and she refused to let poverty determine how far that dream could go. As a teenager, Dolly traveled to Nashville to pursue music. Nashville was already becoming the heart of country music, but breaking into the industry was not easy. Dolly had to work relentlessly, write constantly, perform whenever she could, and convince people that the young woman from the Tennessee mountains had something special. Eventually, her talent could no longer be ignored. Her career began gaining momentum, and she became associated with country music star Porter Wagoner. Her appearances on The Porter Wagoner Show introduced her to a much larger audience and helped establish her as one of country music's most distinctive voices. But Dolly wanted more. She wanted to prove that she could succeed on her own. Leaving the Wagoner partnership was difficult, but that emotional moment helped inspire one of the most famous songs in music history, "I Will Always Love You." Dolly originally wrote and recorded the song in 1973, and it became a major country hit. Years later, Whitney Houston's unforgettable version transformed it into a global phenomenon, introducing Dolly's songwriting genius to an entirely new generation. That song alone would have been enough to secure Dolly Parton's place in music history. But Dolly was only getting started. She went on to create hit after hit, including Jolene, 9 to 5, Coat of Many Colors, and countless other songs that became part of American culture. Her songwriting was deeply personal, but somehow it also felt universal. She could write about heartbreak, poverty, ambition, jealousy, family, work, faith, and love in a way that made millions of people feel as though she were telling their own story. Her success eventually expanded far beyond country music. Dolly became an actress, appearing in major films including 9 to 5, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, Steel Magnolias, and Rhinestone. She proved that her charisma wasn't limited to a recording studio. She could walk onto a movie set and command attention just as easily as she could command a concert stage. But perhaps one of the most remarkable things about Dolly Parton's career was that she never allowed fame to erase her connection to where she came from. She remained proud of her Appalachian roots. She continued speaking about her family, her childhood, and the lessons she learned growing up with very little money. Instead of hiding her humble beginnings, she turned them into part of her greatest strength. And then there was Dolly's humor. She knew exactly what people thought about her appearance. The enormous blonde hair, the glamorous clothes, the sparkling costumes, and the exaggerated image became part of her public identity. But Dolly was always one step ahead of the jokes. She could laugh at herself, she could make fun of her own image, and she understood that humor could be a powerful way to connect with people. Behind the jokes and glamour, however, there was an extremely serious businesswoman. Dolly Parton became an entrepreneur, a producer, a performer, and the force behind Dollywood, one of America's best-known theme parks. She built a business empire while maintaining the warmth and accessibility that had made audiences love her in the first place. Yet perhaps her greatest legacy has nothing to do with music or business. It has to do with children. Through Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, books were provided to children around the world, helping encourage literacy and a love of reading. Over the years, the program grew into an enormous philanthropic effort, reaching millions of children. This was one of the clearest examples of Dolly's philosophy. She had grown up without much, and she understood what it meant for a child to have a dream without having many resources. She wanted children to have access to books, imagination, education, and hope. Her generosity extended into medical research and other causes as well. She contributed significant funding toward research connected to the development of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine, and her charitable work continued throughout her later years. Even when Dolly could have spent the rest of her life simply enjoying her success, she continued creating. She continued writing. She continued performing. She continued giving. And she continued looking toward the future. That makes the news of her death especially emotional. Dolly had recently celebrated her 81st birthday, and even in the final period of her life, she remained connected to music and creative projects. Her official website had announced new music and celebrated her legacy during 2026, while plans were also moving forward for Dolly, a true original musical on Broadway. Just days before her death, Dolly had also been recognized for her songwriting. She appeared virtually to accept the Academy of Country Music's Poets Award on August 19th, reflecting on songwriting and the importance it had held throughout her life. Her final chapter came much sooner than many people expected. Reports indicate that Dolly had experienced health challenges in recent years, and she had been hospitalized in Nashville shortly before her death. Her representatives later confirmed that she had been battling cancer. For fans who had watched Dolly remain active for decades, the news was devastating. It is particularly painful because Dolly Parton had always seemed like someone who would simply keep going. She had survived the difficult early years, she had survived professional struggles, she had transformed criticism into comedy, she had turned rejection into motivation, she had built a career that lasted for generations, and even after reaching extraordinary levels of fame, she continued working. But on August 25, 2026, that journey came to an end. Dolly Parton was 80 years old. She leaves behind an extraordinary catalog of music and a legacy that cannot be measured only by awards or record sales. She leaves behind songs that will continue to be played decades from now. She leaves behind movies that will continue to entertain new audiences. She leaves behind businesses, charitable organizations, books, performances, and countless memories. Most importantly, she leaves behind people who were inspired by her. Her story was especially powerful because she never presented success as something that simply happened to her. She worked for it, she dreamed about it, she fought for it, and she never forgot the people who helped her along the way. Dolly's relationship with her husband, Carl Dean, was another major part of her life. The couple had been married for nearly 60 years before Carl died on March 3, 2025. His death was an enormous personal loss for Dolly, and she spoke openly about the difficulty of continuing after losing someone who had been beside her for most of her adult life. For someone who had spent so much of her life making other people smile, Dolly also knew what grief felt like. Perhaps that is another reason her music connected so deeply with audiences. She understood pain, she understood loneliness, she understood dreams. And she understood hope. When people listened to Dolly Parton sing, they weren't simply hearing a famous celebrity, they were hearing a storyteller, a woman who had experienced poverty and success, heartbreak and happiness, rejection and triumph. And somehow, she always found a way to turn those experiences into music. The world will continue to debate which Dolly Parton song is the greatest. Some will choose Jolene, others will choose I Will Always Love You. Some will remember 9 to 5, others will point to Coat of Many Colors, or one of the hundreds of songs she wrote throughout her extraordinary career. But perhaps the most fitting way to remember Dolly is not through a single song. It is through everything she represented. She represented ambition without forgetting humility. She represented success without abandoning kindness. She represented glamour without taking herself too seriously. And she represented generosity on a scale that touched millions of lives. Her official representatives said Dolly spent her life bringing joy, laughter, hope, and integrity into everything she touched. They also emphasized the enormous reach of her generosity, including the books distributed through her Imagination Library and her support for medical research. That may ultimately be the most important part of her legacy. Dolly Parton did not simply become famous. She used her fame to help people. She could have spent her fortune entirely on herself, but instead she invested enormous amounts of time and money into causes that would outlive her. And that is why her death feels bigger than the death of a singer. It feels like the end of an era. There are very few entertainers who can honestly say they were loved by multiple generations. Dolly could. Children knew her, parents knew her, grandparents knew her, country music fans knew her, pop music fans knew her, movie audiences knew her, and even people who rarely listened to country music knew the name Dolly Parton. That kind of cultural impact is incredibly rare. Today, the rhinestones are still shining. The songs are still playing, the movies are still being watched, the books are still reaching children, and the stories people tell about Dolly Parton will continue. She came from a small mountain community in Tennessee and became one of the most recognizable women in the world. She started with very little and built an extraordinary life. She faced loss, criticism, personal challenges, and health problems, yet she continued to find reasons to create and give. And now, after 8 decades on Earth, Dolly Parton's voice has fallen silent, but her music has not, her kindness has not, her influence has not, her legacy has not. Dolly Parton once built a career around turning life's most complicated emotions into songs that ordinary people could understand. Now, in the wake of her death, the world is left with those songs. Her family has requested that a small private service be held for immediate family, while fans and friends around the world have been encouraged to pay tribute to Dolly through social media. In lieu of flowers, the family has asked people to consider donations to Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. And perhaps that is exactly how Dolly would have wanted to be remembered. Not simply with sadness, but with music, with books, with laughter, with kindness, with memories, and with the determination to make someone else's life a little brighter. Dolly Parton may have left this world on August 25, 2026, but the world she influenced is going to carry her forward. Every time Jolene plays, people will remember her. Every time someone sings, "I Will Always Love You," her songwriting will live again. Every time a child opens a book provided through the Imagination Library, another piece of her dream continues. And every time someone laughs at one of her famous jokes, dresses up in rhinestones, picks up a guitar, or decides that their humble beginnings will not determine their future, Dolly's spirit will be there. She came from the mountains. She dreamed bigger than anyone expected. She became a star, and then she became something even greater than a star. She became a symbol of resilience, a symbol of generosity, a symbol of music, a symbol of hope. Dolly Parton is gone at 80, but the woman who spent her entire life giving the world songs, laughter, and hope has left behind something that death cannot take away, a legacy that will keep singing. And for millions of people around the world, the final words may be the simplest ones. Thank you, Dolly, for the music, for the memories, for the kindness, and for a life that made the world a little brighter. Rest in peace, Dolly Parton.